for good grades.
I wish I was better at relationships.
I wish I was an artist.
I wish I had a better relationship with my wife.
I wish for a life full of happiness.
I wish I may. I wish I might have the wish. I wish tonight.
Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. I hope everyone had a great weekend. I did. I was at a market promoting my business, and the weather was incredible. It was lovely to get that last little fling of warmth here in Canada. So before I get started, I want to remind you again that below you'll find the link to my free energy guide. And what the free energy guide is a booklet that would give you a sense of what I do with a client when I have a clarity call. And then after you sign up for the booklet, there's a series of 4 emails that will come to you. And those just explain a little bit more. And then at the end of that session, there is an opportunity for you to purchase a video for a reasonable price that would go with the booklet. And it gives you a sense of what having a life coach would be like. So you get a chance to work on the booklet with my help. So hopefully that's something that might intrigue you. Okay, so today I have decided to discuss kids' birthday parties. I saw a request go out from a young mom to other young moms about birthday parties, and I thought I could offer some insights to that because of my own journey with birthdays in general. So I'll start with that. Growing up in the foster care system, being removed from your own biological situation, all of a sudden there is no memory or story around how you came to be. And that has been something I have worked on in my own mind and heart because I was the recipient of what happens in that environment. So birthdays became really important to me as I became older. I didn't have a prescribed idea of what I thought I would do for my kids, but I'm going to explain just a little bit about how it felt to be me and why I evolved to where I did possibly. So often on birthdays, it felt like people remembered after the fact. I didn't want to be one of those people that went, "Hey, my birthday's next week, because I had this unfortunate desire to prove to myself that if people cared, they'd remember. I don't know if that was fair to do or not, but that is what I felt and did. And so I remember one particular birthday, I was already in bed and I got a knock on the bedroom door. "Hey, come upstairs." And we had a frozen Tim Hortons cake because all of a sudden it was remembered that, oh, shoot, it's her birthday. My 21st birthday, I was in college. And again, I guess people just assumed I would be able to celebrate with somebody and nobody offered to celebrate. And so I did my day. And again, I was getting ready for bed and I was renting an apartment at the time from an elderly couple that went to our church. And she somehow knew, maybe I had mentioned it, I don't know. I don't remember that part. But she had a cake because she thought how sad it was that I was on my own on my 21st birthday. And that was very, very sweet. And I've often thought of that. So when I came to deciding to bring children into the world, that was huge. I was going to have a family. I was going to be a mother. I was going to have what I didn't have. And I know we all have moments of that. We all have things that we felt we wished we had, or things that our parents did that we hope to not repeat or to do better. I think that's just a human dynamic. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as we can respect what others have done in the best of their ability. So this isn't meant to be a downer for anyone. So, of course, when your children are little, it's really whatever you choose to do. I wanted their birthdays to be special for them. And I know I've had a husband who died, so I refer to him as my first husband. So my first husband, they loved each other. Birthdays weren't a big deal. They got a cake. And I remember even in our relationship in dating, it was like I would say to him, "But you're my person. You're the person that is really important to me. And so the day that you came into this world should be important." That's how I saw it. And over time, he could see that as well. So, our first birthday party for our first child, we did a group party where people who were important to us at the time came to celebrate that with us. And one of my coworkers brought her 1-year-old as well. And it was a really neat experience of getting generational pictures, the 4 generations, that type of thing. And it was a lovely afternoon. It was all about the adults. My son had no idea. And we just kind of went in that vein, sharing birthdays with adults that were close to us. And if they had children, we shared. And then as life moved into the school segment, that's when I had to stop and think. And I don't know if I had not had the experience that I'm about to share, if I would have thought, I maybe would have just believed that we need to do what we've always seen done before. And I think that's the one thing I'd like to kind of preface is that anything that I've done, well, there's a statement that we use, there's nothing new under the sun. And none of us are completely unique. There will have been someone before us who thought like us or was like us. And so being open to challenging your own ideas, being open to say, that's an interesting perspective. I hadn't thought of that before, rather than assuming the person sharing it thinks that that's how it should be done. It's just pick through all of those things and see what resonates. If you're not comfortable, I think it's your inner voice telling you to think again, but I could be wrong. Anyway, so I am now a mother of 3 children. I am volunteering in my son's kindergarten class because I want to be involved in his life and understand what goes on at the school system. And that's how I chose to do that. And at that point in time, they would bring grade 4 to 6 kids into the classroom at lunchtime to help get the kids ready to go outside and that kind of thing. So I was sitting at a desk cutting and pasting something for the teacher. And these 2 grade 6 girls came into the classroom and they were eating their lunch with the kids and they were talking about a birthday party. And that's when all the antenna went off in my head. And I was like, I don't like how this sounds. And it went something like this. Your birthday party's on Saturday, right? Yeah. Who are you inviting? And then there was a discussion of who you're inviting. Oh, you're inviting them? Oh, I didn't invite them to my party. Where are you going? Oh, well, so and so went to the arcade down on this street, and so and so went to the laser tag place here. And I think we're going to go here. Oh, I don't know if I would go there because someone's already gone there. And it was this comparative discussion about what the birthday party was going to be. And I recoiled almost physically, but certainly inside, and thought, oh no, I don't want to be a part of that. That's too much work. That's too much chaos. And how do you manage all of those feelings? And my child certainly isn't capable of managing all of those feelings. So I went home that evening and I said to my husband, we have to discuss birthday parties. We have to know what it is we believe in, what we want, and how we're going to go after achieving that. At that point in time, we now know, we didn't know then, my mother was likely starting her journey of Alzheimer's at a very early age. She was really good at covering. And so the ways that we could see the little holes were things like she didn't remember birthday parties or birthdays, I mean. And then sometimes she would, and you'd get 3 things. And that's really hard for children to figure out as well. There's a socioeconomic component to birthdays. Not everybody has free flowing cash for unexpected invites. And there are differing economics in families. Some family members do better than others. And so to have an expectation of all grandparents, depending on what level of life they're at, to be able to provide for your children feels like an unrealistic concept. And so I remember sitting the kids down And they were young, remember, kindergarten and less. And I said, I want to have a talk with you about birthdays. And I explained to them that we celebrate them because we celebrate that person and we love you and we brought you into this world. It's not a choice you got to make. And so we want you to understand that a birthday is really about celebrating you as a person and that mommy and daddy will celebrate you forever. You are our child, and that is something we want to do. And so anything above and beyond what happens because mom and dad think that that's what they'll do is just a bonus. It's just extra. So sometimes grandparents might remember, sometimes they might forget, they might not be able. And so we want you to know that that's not a reflection of you. They maybe understood, they maybe didn't, but they knew that they weren't to look beyond for something to make that special for them. And then we decided, what will we do? I remember going to birthday parties as a child and being the poor child. I remember being the person in classrooms and seeing the disparity between income and wondering how that happens. We want children to belong. We want children to be kind. We want them to learn to share. And yet the birthday party experience on some level, I think takes away from all of that. So we decided that our children could choose on their birthday between their church or their school friends, one person that they felt that they would like to have an extra special evening or afternoon with. And we would do something that we could afford, and that child would be a part of that with our child. And then I decided that because I didn't want to set up a situation where there was competition, I would take something into the classroom that my child could share with his whole class on his birthday. I even at one point made a cake for the first time ever that had no eggs and something else I forget because of the allergies in the classroom. But I wanted that to be that this was my kid's birthday and he would like to share with you something to celebrate that with him. And that then took away that fear of competition. Then we decided that they could have a birthday party on the significant birthdays. And we just chose the 5th birthday, the 10th birthday, the 13th birthday, the 16th birthday, and the 21st birthday. And our thinking was that those are kind of like a milestone. Their 13th birthday, however, they didn't get to have a party. I had read an article about we don't have rites of passage as often in our North American society as other cultures sometimes do, and certainly as people did years ago. And so I wanted to create a rite of passage for my children. Everybody kind of talks extensively about, oh, double digits, you're going to be 13. What does that mean? And so we decided that 13 was the sort of the door opening into teenage years. And we wanted to leave them with an impression that as much as that can be exciting, that there comes responsibility the older we become. I remember when I turned 16, I was so excited, partially because that's where in Canada we are allowed to get our driver's license. But somehow because of all of that, so sweet 16, just all of the things that centered around that. And I actually remember being really disappointed. I don't know why, but I thought the world would open and it was just another day. And I unfortunately couldn't get my driver's license because I had had childhood seizures and I had had one less than 2 years before turning 16. And I had to wait until I was, I think, 22 or 25 to get my license. So nothing changed for me and it was devastating. So on their 13th birthday, we chose a small piece we wanted something significant. So the boys got a rune that we did research on that fit their personality. And then we got a leather cord that they could hang that on. And we said they could choose to wear it or not wear it, but that when they looked at it or put it on, we wanted to remind them that this is the beginning of their informative, responsible years, and that they have been raised and taught the way we feel that they could be, as far as kind and considerate and honest and have integrity, those kinds of things. And that this would be a reminder. And we took them out for dinner, and we had this gift beautifully wrapped, and it was like a little adult moment, just us and them. So that one, they didn't get to have a party, but it was quite significant. And we talked about it, and they knew it was coming. Our daughter, we got her a Canadian diamond, and she had a little diamond ring, which she promptly lost playing football at school. But you know what? She had the experience, and she understood what it was that we were trying to teach. So let's go back now to little kids and parties. So one of the things that I never understood and didn't feel comfortable with, and so not doing a lot of parties, I got to be exempt from this. But I want to share my thinking around it, was the idea of a loot bag. Even the term should make you a little bit uncomfortable. The idea that I'm going to be invited to this party, I'm going to take a gift, and then I'm going to get something, kind of goes away from what we might want to teach our children about giving. That we don't give to receive, that we give because we care or because there's a need. So I never really felt comfortable with that. And then, as the parent receiving a child home, a lot of it's dollar store. It's like this sense of, I must give this. So what's the most inexpensive way I can do that? Or if you have means, it becomes, wow, it's huge. And it possibly sets up an expectation that isn't very realistic either. The other thing I didn't like about birthday parties was the concept of the birthday child sitting in a chair, everybody sitting around, and then people are jumping up and down. Let me see. And they're grabbing the present from the child. And so that brings me to the concept of the sharing. So the child maybe had help, or like they got to help pick the present. Maybe they didn't. So maybe that's part of it. They're like, busy parents just buy a gift, wrap it up, and say, here, take this to the party. And the kid wants to see what they were giving the other child. Maybe they thought then that they should somehow have some kind of connection to that gift. But for the birthday child, it's very chaotic as well, because there's people grabbing and they're trying to be a part of whatever's going on. And so I was kind of probably not a very fun mom. I would have, when we did have a party, I would have everybody sit, and I was very there, and I would say, okay, we're going to all get a chance to look, and we're going to just let this person open their gifts with some calm awareness of what's happening. The other thing that I then also had done was I taught my kids ahead of time. These parties can be frustrating, and I need you to understand that you have to share with people. So you are allowed to pick one present of all the presents you get today, and you can take that away and put it up so that you don't have to share that, and you can experience it on your own in a calm manner later, so that you don't have to be torn. Because I heard an author that I really appreciate, Barbara Coloroso, speak once about sharing and how we teach our children to share. And she said, with a show of hands here in the audience, who got a new car just recently? And of course, a few people put up their hand. And her next question was, and I bet you took the keys immediately, went over to your neighbor and said, here, dude, take my car, take it for a spin. I'm so excited. I want to share. And there was very uncomfortable laughter in the room. And that's what we're expecting our kids to do when they're in a birthday party situation, is take something that means something to them and just let other people tear open the package, open it up while they're still opening another package. And so it's just not a nice environment to teach things well in. So that's just another consideration, is how do you want to handle that? How would you like to teach your children about receiving? And how would you like to, as a parent in a community, possibly share with other people about that? The economic piece, I think, is really important to consider. We were quite tight at certain points in our young years as parents. And so I found it a burden when my children were invited to a birthday party, because I now have to select something that makes sense, that my child won't look like they don't have as much as other children. I need to figure out if I can afford the whole environment around the gift. And so I made a decision to explain budgeting to our children and to explain that it's difficult to budget for a birthday party that we don't even know. And so we decided that children at a certain age point, we would give them $5 in a birthday card. And if you can remember being young, you know that getting money to save towards something that you wanted was pretty exciting. And I just felt that that was all I could do, and that money on some level was exciting. And I explained to our child that it's not cheap to buy a gift that looks not cheap. To purchase the gift, go actually spend the gas to get it, the wrapping paper to wrap it. It's a lot to ask of somebody because you've decided that you want to celebrate your child that way. So that's how we got around that. The social aspect of parties is that you're putting a young child into an environment that you haven't been able to predetermine if it's a safe environment or not. And that was very stressful to me. If it was a sleepover birthday, I don't know the family well, and I'm allowing my child to go somewhere I haven't been able to be comfortable about. And so there was work to do around that as well. So for sleepovers, because of abuse in my past, I was always nervous. And I can't assume because I had a bad experience that all people are bad. And yet I have to protect my child. So one of the things that we did was had a password. We had a way that we could talk. And for birthday parties, if they were in an environment that felt scary to them, they were to ask if they could call their mom. And then at the end of the conversation, they could say, "When you pick me up tomorrow, could we go out for ice cream?" And that was my clue to figure out a way to go and get them, to remove them from that situation. And that allowed me to feel more safe about allowing them to go somewhere they shouldn't maybe be. The other thing that I did have happen that I thought was interesting was we taught our children, because this is our belief, it's not yours maybe, and you don't have to have my belief, but I'm putting my child in your supposed care if you are the birthday party giver. And so we were trying to teach our children that you should not drink and drive. We started from a very young age because even in school, they're taught these things. And so our son went to a birthday party in Toronto, and we live an hour and a half outside of the city, to an event. And the father of the birthday child had beer with his dinner. My son was stressed the rest of the evening because he was going to be driven home by a man who had had beer. So we know that people drink a drink or two with their meal and go home. But I felt that with someone who is with other people's children, that wasn't a wise move. I didn't know about it. My son, when he got home, had to share that experience with us. And that family, that mother and father, were very upset with us that they were judged in that way. I don't remember all of the details to know if we called them then or if it happened when my son got out of the car. I don't remember. But the other piece that I was kind of surprised by was that man was a police officer. That was his job. And I would think that he would want to have a different perspective lived in front of children. So we are leaving our children in the care of other people when we do these things. And I felt like I didn't have the ability to parent them the way I wanted. So there's a lot embedded in the idea of it's just a birthday party or why can't you? There's a lot to be learned. So, food's a big one. I had to be the parent who ran food to the birthday party because my son had allergies and he couldn't eat some things. And of course, now that's way more normal, but it wasn't at that point for my child. And so there was just a lot to consider. And I just wanted to share that I think every child should be celebrated. Birthdays were huge in this house, but not huge in the celebration with others always. We did have some of that and we enjoyed those. We had surprise 16 birthday parties. We did some really neat things for our children. But I think that they should be done in a way that we can keep the safety around our children and we're not forced into economic situations, and socially we can handle what is happening. So those were sort of the top tips I think I had. My 13th, so what we did for our children, that from the moment they woke up, this was their day, but it didn't necessarily mean money. We taught them that. We sang happy birthday to them to wake them up. All the other family members would gather and we would go into the room of the birthday person and sing. There was a phase where we would go out for breakfast to a local place right close to the school and drop them off after breakfast. My son turned 13 and I had to be out of the province, and I had the best fun with that day. We took him out for his 13th birthday later, but that particular day, my husband took them out for breakfast. I had balloons delivered to the school at lunch. And then he was given money to go to the local lunch spot. And I called that place and told them that it was his birthday. So when he walked in, they said, happy birthday. It was easy. And because of how it ended up happening totally by fluke, I happened to call just as he was walking in the door. And because we live in a small community, they knew our family, and his friends turned to him and said, oh my goodness, I don't think your mom left the province. I think she's sneaking around because every time we turn around, she's there with stuff. So that was just a neat thing to do. And he felt special, and it was little things. And then we just did our family event. There was no party that year. So it's being creative, it's remembering, it's making sure they feel special in a way that builds them as people, not with commercialism, not with, I remember once being in someone's home and birthdays weren't a big deal. They were celebrated in a sense of almost like, well, okay, I guess if it's your birthday, we should do something. And they signed the birthday card in front of the child, passed it around the table. Everybody signed it. Somebody licked it and handed it to them. And that wasn't just a one-off. That was kind of, and it's like, that's them. That's their family. They're allowed to do what they need to do. But I just personally felt like, and that was before I had kids, I wanted to make sure that they understood that we're glad they're around. And that's what birthdays mean. And that's what we should do to help that. Having said that, I did learn there was a phase in my life where it just was not something that happened for me. And I don't say that for, sad moments. I learned in those experiences to make that day special myself, to the point that when I got to be able to, have a group around me, and my birthdays are wonderfully celebrated now. I sometimes miss those days where I would just wake up and think, okay, what am I going to do today? How am I going to spoil myself? And I had every right to do it, and I didn't have to feel guilty, and I loved it. So even as adults, birthdays can be complicated, and maybe it comes from how we did it when they were young. I don't know. But I just wanted to share these thoughts. They're just mine. You don't have to take from them. I hope in some ways it maybe made you think, oh, I never thought of that. That's not a bad thought. And might change a little bit how you do what you do for your children and their birthdays. Have a great Monday, and I look forward to sharing another thought with you next week. As much as I enjoy discussions, I also want to provide a service to people who would like more. If you want to do more than listen, get in touch with me with the links in the description. You can also email me through hello@beyondwishfulthinking.ca. And I'd like to give you content you enjoy, so please leave a review wherever you're listening to this podcast. If you're watching through my YouTube channel, leave your comments below. If you want more of Beyond Wishful Thinking podcasts, make sure to subscribe for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you are listening right now.